Good morning.
Okay.
This is an extensive agenda.
Hallelujah. No, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Mr. Clerk.
30 minutes.
30, that's you. Yeah, it's 30. It's 30.
Recording? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newark Municipal Council special meeting and conference meeting. Madam President, in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice has been provided to the Star-Ledger, the Jersey Journal, and to the public at large establishing the date, time, and location of this meeting. May I have a roll call of those present, please?
Amador, absent. Gonzalez,
Present.
James,
Present.
McIver, absent. Osborne,
Present.
Here.
Ramos, absent. President Trump.
Here.
Madam President, before we start,
Yes, Councilman.
just to commend the engineering department for putting the signs out there with our names. So now there is no doubt that people are not going to park in our spaces.
Thank you. I did it.
You did.
So you want to say, yeah,
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
No, seriously. It was becoming such an unnecessary problem. And I do want to thank the clerk's office as well as the VA for following through on the recommendation. And I was trying to look when I came in, but good morning, sweetheart. You found just Mr. Clerk.
Madam President, on the agenda, items on second reading, final passage in public hearing. 6 PSNFA is an ordinance granting a tax exemption to Newark Makerhoods Urban Renewal LLC for a project to construct a mixed-use complex consisting of 66 units of housing, including 16 affordable housing units, and 16 affordable workshops, and the rehabilitation of the Kruger Scott Mansion into a business incubator space with approximately 20,000 square feet of office space for local commercial entities located on property known as 597-601 and 607-609 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, 129-135, 137, 139, 141, 143, and 146 Court Street, and 20-22, 24-26, and 26 College Place. Is there anyone present that wishes to be heard on this ordinance?
Mr. McCutcheon.
Dion McCutcheon, Newark Matters, defending the aged, disabled, homeless, poor, and defenseless. This ordinance is, I'm actually glad that if it's the property in which I'm thinking, the one that's that big mansion on the corner, finally, thank God. It's a big, I wanted to buy that, but I guess I can't now, you know. I guess I just have to build mine from the ground up. But I did have some concerns with the actual ordinance. There was something that didn't quite. Oh, again, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, and maybe I should be addressing the council because I read somewhere that the council is the counselor is the one that drafts the ordinances. So sometimes I direct my attention to the council, but I read somewhere in one of the titles, I think it's Title 9 of the City Council rules, that the council actually drafts these ordinances. It says here that the 35 exemption, fine, but again, it lacks quantitative analysis or evaluation. The people need to see, well, I would like to see the actual numbers applied to this so that it will justify to me why there's a 35-year exemption for the tax, which is not a problem, right? I'm assuming that because you get to number 4, it says the financial agreement, the form in which is attached here too, which I looked to see where it was attached, and again, there is no financial agreement attached to this document, either online. Now, what really baffles me is that it's 2019, and when I'm online, when there's something that needs to be read, especially something like a financial agreement as in this statement, I think it's called a hyperlink. Well, if you scroll your mouse over it, it lights up, and you click it, and then it shows the file, the document, that it appeared, so you can read that document. I scrolled over it online, and there was no document attached to this financial agreement. I guess my point is, if you're going to say there's a financial agreement attached to this document, please provide it, counsel. Or, if it's online, make sure that there's a hyperlink so that you can click on it, and so that you can read it. Because again, the only thing, I'm totally in agreement with this, the only thing that I have a problem with is the fact that I was unable to read the financial agreement. Maybe that's just privy to the city council. I thought this was a public forum. And then number 11, okay, this is a good thing. Number 11 says something about, let me read this real quickly, 22 seconds. The entity shall, from the time of annual service charge becomes effective, pay the annual service charge as set forth in the financial agreement. Again, there's the word financial agreement, but I can't see that information because when I scrolled over it, there was no hyperlink for me to read the financial agreement. But I think that's a good idea to get 10% of the gross revenue, and the may increase is set forth. So although I can't buy that property, I'm glad you guys did something with it.
Thank you, Mr. McCutcheon. Anyone else? Mr. Clerk?
Sponsor.
No one else appearing. A motion to close the public hearing and adopt Councilwoman LaMonica and Councilwoman Crump. Roll call.
Yes. About time.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
I heard that.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Madam President,
Ramos absent.
he's on his way.
Yes. Councilwoman McIver.
I just want to thank the council, my council colleagues for supporting this item. I do want to make an announcement to my colleagues as well as to the public, to the viewing audience, that we will be hosting a community meeting tonight regarding the Kruger-Scott Mansion and the development with the community. Everyone is invited to come. It's going to be tonight at 6:00 p.m. at St. James Church, located at 588 Martin Luther King Boulevard, and that's at 6:00 p.m. So we welcome everybody to come out to get some updates regarding the mansion and the development, where we're at, when we also want some input from the community. And like I said, all of my council colleagues are invited to the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Councilman Quintana.
Madam President, I'm so happy that this is taking place. You know, for someone who's stood here for many years to see money that went out the window, taxpayers' money. It went from the city trying to do it, the project to restore that facility, to see the housing authority back then, and now to see it a reality. I think it's an accomplishment from the administration side to this governing body. I want to commend all of us for this, because this is something coming true. Seeing it, many nights going by there and just seeing this empty, beautiful building, and to seeing now that someone's going to develop it, and that there's going to be community input, and that there's going to be, so that the history of this city is not just forgotten because developers come, but there will be something that will capture the history of the Kruger-Scott Mansion, so it's not a dinosaur, because we're not going to make this city a dinosaur. The history of this city is very important to the citizens of Newark. So to the developers and to all, I just want to say thank you. After such a long time, the late Donald Tucker would always fight about that whole Kruger-Scott Mansion. From the bricks that were ordered at the time, they had to go to eastern Pennsylvania to get bricks to match the building. You know that. And to see now that it's going to be a reality, because at the time, the Kruger-Scott Mansion was going to be a cultural center. Just like the Northwood Center had its cultural center, the Kruger-Scott Mansion. As a historian, speaking on behalf of what occurred, I am so happy to say thank you.
Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Vice
Madam
President.
If I may just put my 2
Yes,
cents.
of course.
I believe I second whatever was mentioned by Councilman Quintana. And I believe that we should have that project completed sooner rather than later, because it has been an eyesore in the community for too long. I pass by that building on a regular basis, and it's a shame that it's in the condition, or that has been allowed to get to the condition that it is right now. And I trust that the developer would exercise his best judgment to have that building done quicker rather than later.
Thank you very
Madam
much.
President,
Councilman.
I
Amador?
totally agree with my two colleagues, but one of the prerogatives of being in the council for so long is to see things happen and remember things. One of the things that we should do, and I've called for this in the past, is to investigate whatever happened in the past, where the money went to, with each allocation that was made and each approval that was made to improve the condition of this building. We haven't done that, and I'm sure that we will be extremely surprised if we do that.
Yes, Mr. Clerk, I want to thank all of the council members for their positive comments. This is a project that has been too long delayed, and other administrations did not give it, in my opinion, the significance and the history, as Councilman Quintana and the others have said. So we're all looking forward to a grand opening, Councilwoman, and a celebration of one of Newark's oldest historic structures and grounds. I want to thank certainly Natasha Rogers, certainly our Corp Counsel and our BA and Keith Hamilton, and I could go on and on. Certainly the input from Director Ladd, even though she is new to the project, we thank you so much for moving it. You did what others did not do, and we are very, very grateful. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Madam President,
Oh, yes.
yeah, I apologize for coming in late, but I just want to note my vote as a yes for the tax abatement.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Resolution 7R2A is a authorizing resolution for the Department of Economic and Housing Development declaring an area in need of redevelopment. This is West Ward.
Madam President, if I may.
Councilman Gonzalez.
If I may ask a question here, I see that there's properties in the West Ward and there's properties in the Central Ward. Do we usually combine them, or do we have? And the South. And do we have a designation by ward instead of having one designation with three different properties in the three different wards?
I actually never seen it like this.
Just an observation that the development area may include 2 or 3 blocks
No,
in the south and 2 or 3 in the central.
What Cutler Street is I believe, is not up up to 16th Street.
Could we get?
I just want to.
Great question.
I
Great
just want to make
question.
sure that we do that on a regular basis.
Director,
Good morning.
Deputy Mayor.
Good morning, Madam President. Council members, Allison Ladd, Acting Director of EHD. Thank you for the question. This resolution is related to properties in which the city would like to dispose of to some of our emerging developers, those that are working under the Neighborhood Development Program. And part of our ability to be able to dispose of the properties, as you know of, and to sell them is to have a redevelopment area in place. Regarding the difference between which ward, I can't speak to that, but I look to find an answer. But the sense of urgency is that we'd like to be able to sell the properties to the emerging developers that we're working with.
Yeah, my question was more in terms of, should we have one or three?
Separate them.
Yes.
I understand, Councilmember Gonzalez. My understanding is that it is not a requirement for a resolution related to a redevelopment area to be split by ward. Yes.
Well, the thing with this is that you may have, let's say, you're exposing let's say, when they go to the hearings, more people may come and object because you have three different.
Sure, we understand, and we want to make sure that it's consistent with the zoning, and also, I think that, as you know, oftentimes our neighborhoods may spread beyond ward boundaries, and so at this point, I know we are looking to make sure we can work with the emerging development developers that are working with EHD.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilman Ramos.
Deputy Mayor, would it be possible for us to get a list of all the areas that we have designated in need of redevelopment? We've taken action on a number of properties. I would particularly like to see identification of properties by ward. You know, I had a large area consisting primarily of properties along Broadway and below that had been designated a few years back, and I'm not sure what the status of that is. I know the planning board was supposed to review and take some kind of action, but we were trying to utilize that as a catalyst for some further development opportunities in that corridor. So if you can research that and get back to the council, I would appreciate it.
Sure, Councilmember Ramos. I, like you, like to be able to see the impact of the decisions that are being made. And so, second, I like maps, and so we're actually mapping a lot of the information that you're asking for now. And I do have a list of all of the redevelopment areas in which this council has approved, and so I'll work to get the information to you. Second, just a quick question. I wanted to make sure I understood the location that you were speaking of. You mentioned Broadway and...
Broadway and a number of properties below Broadway, but it's primarily, I think it was like 126 different properties that had been identified as part of that redevelopment area.
Okay.
It's fairly large, but most of the properties are along Broadway and the old industrial area below Broadway off of Grafton and Sakes.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilman Eustace sponsor, second
Yes.
by Councilman James.
Yes.
Roll call.
Is there a, yes.
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
7R2B is an authorizing resolution for the Department of Economic and Housing Development for the private sale and redevelopment to construct two-family homes on vacant lots and demolish an existing structure to construct an apartment building containing up to 12 residential units. This is Central Ward, Council.
Sponsor.
Second.
Second by Councilman McCallum.
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Abstain.
James,
Yes. Yes.
McIver,
Yes.
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 President Trump.
Yes. There's a little story behind this particular project. It's the old Western Beef building, and many people have approached me over the last few days now that it has moved to Queens. How do we get another one in place? And so they were famous for their meats. Yes, Councilman.
Do we know who the principals of this LLC are?
Ms. Ladd, Deputy Mayor.
CMGC?
Good morning again, Allison Ladd, Acting Director of EHD. The organization is Broadbelt LLC, Broadbeat CMGC LLC, and the principal is Ramesh Broadbelt. We are expecting him to come to the hearing today. I'm not sure if he's arrived yet. but we were expecting him this morning.
It happens to have my initials, CMG. That's why
So you have no choice but to support it. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
He just walked in.
Oh, there he is.
Seven R4A is a authorizing resolution for the Department of Finance for stipulation of settlements for tax appeals.
Can they, maybe the gentleman could introduce himself before you move on
He's,
to the next item?
Councilman Gonzalez is fine. I'm sorry, could we go back to 7R4? I did not hear it.
The councilman is asked to allow the gentleman an opportunity to introduce himself.
No, he said after.
No, he said no.
if he can,
It's on the item right now, so you might as well do it.
it was approved already, so
Yeah, but at least maybe he could just briefly introduce himself to the council. He made it all the way here, so.
Hi, morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
A bit hoarse. Just to give you a,
Please state your name and position.
I am Ramesh Broadbelt. I am the owner of Broadbelt CMGC LLC. It's a small development company evolved out of a larger company based in New York, and we've decided to position ourselves in Newark to, make Newark our home and invest in Newark.
Any questions? I think they were answered.
Have you done any other projects within the city? Would this be your first project that you've developed?
Within Newark, we've done other projects, but not ground up. We've done ground up in New York, Brooklyn, and Manhattan.
You've done what, rehabs in Newark?
Yeah, we've done maybe 7 or 8 rehabs in Newark, 3 families, 2 families. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Gonzalez.
yeah, what was the name of the bigger company that you disassociated from?
The Horizon Group and Brit Realty.
Have they been involved in the city of Newark?
No, they're not directly involved, but if we do start larger projects, much larger projects, because I think this one is only 12 units, the largest one. We're used to doing 80, 100 units in New York.
This entity then is a subsidiary of the bigger company?
It's not a direct subsidy, but I left that company to start my own company and base myself in Newark.
Okay,
But-
let's say you have, I suppose, a financial wherewithal to do
Right.
these projects.
Right.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk,
Yes, Madam President, I would like to change my vote from an abstention to a yes.
Mr. Clerk, Councilman Gonzalez would like to change his vote from abstention to yes.
And Madam President, I'd just like to add through your chair and the clerk to the administration that it does make a big difference when you do have representation from some of these developers attend the meeting and introduce themselves to the council and give us an opportunity to ask questions regarding their past experiences. So I just want to thank Economic Development for making this gentleman available to us today.
Thank you. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
7R4A is a authorizing resolution for the Department of Finance for stipulation of settlements for tax appeals.
Council as a whole.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Madam President?
Yes,
I just want to bring up
Councilman
an
Ramos.
issue regarding the tax assessor's office. We have a number of private property owners, homeowners, who have been getting these notices that their value of their property has been adjusted. And I really think that that's something that we need to have a conversation with the administrator about. Some of these individuals purchase homes with the understanding that the value of their property was a certain amount, and then, midway through the year, they're getting a notice that the value of their property has been adjusted, in some cases $70,000, $80,000, and they're facing a significant increases in taxes as a result. And yesterday, I actually visited with the county tax assessor, and I was informed that the way the city is doing it, that it doesn't even give the property owner to file an appeal with the city within the year that the tax has been adjusted. So they have to pay whatever the adjustment is, and hopefully file an appeal in the subsequent year. And I really think that in some cases it's unfair, the way the city's going about doing this. I know that there's a firm by the name of Blau & Blau that has been focusing on commercial properties. That firm has never been authorized by this council to do this work. But now, my understanding is that the focus is on private homeowners in addition to commercial property owners.
Madam President, if I may.
Yes.
Say, I was informed of the same. However, it seems that some individuals have the opportunity to appeal their taxes when they believe that the property is assessed at more than it should be. In this case, the city believed that the property is assessed for less than what the property is worth, and then now the city is going to appeal, and the city is the one that determines then that this individual should be paying more and not less, and that's, I believe, why the increased assessed value is submitted to them. And I believe that is, let's say, if you may have a property that is assessed at $200,000 when the market value of the property is $500,000. So sometimes people get away with that until a revaluation happens. In this case, the city is taking advantage of the increased assessment value before an assessment or a total assessment in the city is done, a revaluation is done. And I believe that is fair if it is done and people get, let's say, due process in doing it.
Yeah, Madam
Mr.
President.
Tax Assessor.
Madam
Madam
President,
President, could I just add something? I understand the reason it happens, but if you're a property owner who purchased a home with the understanding you're paying $16,000 a year in taxes, and midway through the year, the city comes in and does an adjustment, and now your taxes went up to $23,000, $24,000, to me, that represents a hardship. And based on my conversation with the county tax assessor yesterday, the way the city is notifying these property owners, it doesn't even give them the opportunity to file an appeal within that year. They have to wait till the following year to file an appeal. So I think we're putting a lot of homeowners at risk. We understand that, in some cases, especially in the Forest Hill area, we had somebody pay $700,000 for a home that probably needs another $300,000, $400,000 worth of investment. And she's one of the ones who had this adjustment done. But I really feel that if we are going to do that, we should notify the property owners in a timely fashion and give them the opportunity to file an appeal if they wish to pursue that route, instead of waiting till the following year.
Madam President.
Councilman Ammon.
I remember talking about this issue back 4 or 5 months ago. The biggest problem here is not so much the reevaluation that is being done by internally. The biggest problem is that Blau & Blau, which is a law firm, is working without a contract signed by the city of Newark. The city council has to approve that contract, and Blau & Blau is not operating, is not working with a contract signed by the city council. And they've been conducting investigations and revaluations all over the place. That's the problem.
Mr. Tax Assessor, you want to address all those questions?
Yes, please, Madam President. Good morning, Madam President, honorable council members, Aaron Wilson, Tax Assessor. There are a lot of questions here. I'll get to everything. First of all, Blau & Blau is not retained by my department, so that's something that's done with the city. I know Councilman Quintana's understanding of the process. I'm sorry, Councilman Gonzalez is,
All look alike.
understanding of
Please
the process
allow him to
Hey, that's a
continue.
new one in Quintana.
is correct. There is due process. There is no immediate reassessment of these properties. As to Councilman Ramos's assertions, I must say that there are certain factual inconsistencies. The adjustments are all made prior to the book going in, which is January 10th. They all do receive notice via the green cards. That is the notice that we're required to give by the state.
But that doesn't allow them to file an appeal within the existing time period. They have to wait till the following year.
No, that's,
I would like to bring the county tax assessor here at some point so she can provide some clarity.
Let me ask you a question. If you're saying that Blau & Blau is not operating under your responsibility, who's hiring him?
with my understanding, Councilman, is that he's responsible to the city through
City who?
through the Corporation Counsel's office. I mean, oh.
Thank you. Any other questions?
If you send the green card on January 10th and the individuals have up to April 1st to do let's say to request from the county a check on the taxes, let's say an appeal on the taxes, people do have time to do it, because I have a building on Bloomfield Avenue, and I submitted the application for a tax appeal on the day that it was due. So now they do it electronically. So I questioned whether, let's say, if you're sending it on the 10th of January.
Yeah, this person didn't get their green card because their first and second quarter taxes, and there's one of the clerk's neighbors that reached out to our office yesterday. They literally got this card last month or the month before, adjusting their taxes for the third and fourth
No, but
quarter.
if they get the assessment, the green card with the assessed value of the property on January 10th,
Didn't get it on January.
that should be the basis for appealing it.
But if you don't get it until the summer,
If I may, I'd rather just go in executive session if we're going to talk about the specific household. If not, we probably should have a discussion offline. We're giving too many details about.
I think what I would like Corp Counsel and the BA is an understanding as to why this is happening, and also an opinion from the county tax assessor as to what, if the city is going to do this, what's the appropriate way that the city should do it, so it doesn't disenfranchise our property owners and homeowners in the city. So it gives them the right. If the city has the right to make an adjustment in the middle of the year on the value of their property, then we should have everything in place to allow that property owner, homeowner, to file an appeal if they disagree with our assessment. And I don't believe that's happening.
And that should be done by the tax assessor's office. If a law firm is being hired to do this work, to be referred to the city to change the information on these accounts, and the contract has not been ratified by the city council, we have a problem here.
So, Mr. BA and Corp Counsel and Mr. Tax Assessor, we will have an executive session where we can continue this discussion.
Thank you, Council President. I just did want to say one thing before we leave off this issue. One is that our tax assessor has a responsibility to the county tax assessor. However, the county tax assessor doesn't trump our city tax assessor. Our city tax assessor has to follow the same laws that the county tax assessor has to follow. They must comply with state statute, city ordinance, and anything that the county imposes as the county tax assessor. So I'm happy to have an opinion by the county assessor if that's what the councilman wants. But we have confidence that our tax assessor is following the law and is operating in the best interest of the city, and we'll go into more detail when we get into.
And my point, Eric, is that again, I'm interested in making sure that we're doing everything we can to allow private homeowners in the city the opportunity to file an appeal if they agree with this adjustment, which in the two cases that I'm aware of was done in the summer. It wasn't done at the beginning of the year. So, you know, I work in the same building where the tax assessor is at. I stopped in her office and I spoke to some of her staff, and I'm like, if this is happening, what can the city do in order to afford that homeowner the opportunity to file an appeal if they disagree with the adjustment? And what was explained to me is that the timing of when this is done impacts the private property owner's ability to file an appeal. So if it's done midway through the year, they don't have an opportunity to file an appeal until next year.
With respect to the specific...
Mr. B.A., before you continue, to my council colleagues, this is an executive session item, and...
I don't think it's executive session. We're not talking about a particular property.
It is, and I'll tell you why when we go into executive session. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, next item, please.
It's a policy of the
7R6A is an authorizing resolution for the Department of Law for an agreement with the government entity. This is to execute a tolling agreement for the benefit of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, which will toll the statute of limitations of the recovery of certain response costs incurred by the agency pursuant to the Comprehensive Environmental Response Comprehension and Liability Act in connection with certain removal activities conducted at Diamond Alkali Superfund site.
Madam President, can somebody explain to us in plain language that what this means?
If I may, Madam President.
Madam President,
Yes.
before the city clerk explains the reason why, this is a site that has been shut down for the last 15, 20 years. It's a contaminated site, it's a Superfund site, and based on the language of the resolution, the Environmental Protection Agency will be compensated for any costs that will take by this company that is still viable, will be compensated. What level of compensation do the residents in this area get from the fact that this place has been idle and needs to be remediated from time to time? What are the compensation to the residents of the area and to the residents of the city of Newark when the cost, the recovery for the whatever cost is going to take place to remediate it again, the costs are going to be going to the Environmental Protection Agency, federal government. What about the residents?
They have a clean lot.
No, they don't.
They will have a clean lot after.
No, they don't. Not based on prior records, no.
Well, can someone explain to us what this is?
If I'm,
And Madam President, if I'm not mistaken, this is the Agent Orange? Company to manufacture Agent Orange?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know, Eric Pennington, Business Administrator. I can talk generally about why a tolling statute would want to be in place. I don't know the specifics of this particular issue right now.
So there's a possible action, and they want to have more time to to bring the action. That's
exactly. In the EPA, even though the city would be a defendant in this action, it would be for the benefit of the city and its residents. At the end of the day, the principal obligation is to make sure that the area is cleaned up. So that's the benefit to it. If there are fines that are imposed, and my understanding is if those fines are in excess, they would flow to the municipality and to its residents. But this particular request is to make sure that the EPA has sufficient time.
Madam President, I would like to invite whoever is in charge of this project. I remember going back to the day when the Environmental Protection Agency was there, indicating that the place has been remediated, and all the stuff, all the bad stuff that we have in this site is underground. I want to know how it's going to be remediated and who's going to benefit if it's the municipality or if it's the federal government. So they should be here indicating to the residents of the city of Newark what they are doing and where the benefits are going.
Council members, we certainly are going to take.
Let me just finish this. The real problem is the river, not so much the site. The site has been cleaned up, or the stuff is underground, as I said before, and they will keep it underground. The real problem is the river, the contamination of the river that has existed for the last 50 years. And I want to know where the money is going to go to, if it's going to the state, to be part of a pot that will be given to the city of Newark to clean up the river, because if we continue to improve the riverfront and we don't have the funds, as the state indicates, to clean up the river, this is a perfect opportunity for us to do so.
So, Mr. Corp Counsel, before you speak, with the questions that have been raised by council members, is there an urgency to the passing of this particular item? I would recommend that we defer to the next meeting. That will give council members an opportunity to forward to you their questions. I think they're absolutely right to raise the questions to their satisfaction.
Madam President?
Yes.
Madam President, also Passaic Valley Sewage Commission is also in a lawsuit with this entity. Just wanted to put that on the record. As a commissioner of Passaic Valley, this is an issue that we should convene some kind of meeting between the Passaic Valley sewage lawsuit that has occurred, and the city of Newark should know what it entails, because there is a lawsuit.
Madam President, this may give us an opportunity to engage the state also and find out what the amount is available at the state level from the companies, primarily from this company, Diamond Alkali, that contaminated the river. The cleanup of the river is essential to the city of Newark. I've said this many, many, many times, and we can clean up the riverfront, we can transform the riverfront, but if we don't clean the river, nothing's going to happen.
Mr. Clerk.
And this is a perfect opportunity for us to know. So my suggestion is to invite whoever, my apologies, whoever is responsible at the EPA level, but also invite the folks from the EPA, the state EPA, who have been involved in since Governor Christie in putting this money together to clean up the river. We need to know that.
Sure.
So can we
If I may,
agree to that?
if I may, just for the record, Kenyatta Stewart, City of Newark Corporation Council. So essentially what this is here is an agreement to toll, it's an agreement to say we're going to stop the statute of limitation process and give us until 2021. So this is going to give everybody an opportunity to continue the process without putting the folk involved in a situation where they can't move forward. That's all this is. This is a tolling agreement to say, listen, we agree that we're still trying to figure it out, and we don't want everyone to stop at the moment. We're just going to toll the process.
Regardless of the explanation in terms of this resolution, my point still the same. We need the state and we need the federal government, EPA, both EPAs, to come in and give us an explanation as to the status. Governor Christie announced many, many times that he had the money available to clean up the river from these companies. Well, where's the money? Show me the money.
Council President, if I may, what I was going to say after that was, it's still a good idea to move forward with what we have here and also schedule a meeting with the folk who are involved to give us more details about what the councilman is asking. But I think we're putting ourselves in jeopardy if we fail to vote on this. I don't know the exact time limit we have as far as the specific date, but I know this was pushed for this reason, that we wanted to make sure we told the statute of limitations. Those folk can come in, give us an explanation of where they are with that process, but I think it's very prudent for us to go forward as what we are now.
Lady and gentlemen, we've heard the recommendation coming from Clerk Counsel and the Business Administrator, as well as the recommendation to defer. Mr. Clerk, for a sign of agreement or otherwise, roll call.
To defer? Or
Yes.
to advance?
Roll call to this, to the item.
To defer, or are we adopting?
No, roll call.
To adopt.
Not
Roll
to
call
defer.
adopt. Council of the whole.
To adopt?
Amador,
Abstain.
That's it.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James. Absent. McCallum,
Yes.
McIver,
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Ramos,
Abstain.
President Trump.
Yes.
I'd like to record my vote as a yes.
Environmental
However,
justice.
what it does merit to the administration, the council members have raised legitimate questions, and as soon as possible, it is your obligation to meet with them to discuss their concerns. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
7R8A is an authorizing resolution for the Department, for the Office of Municipal Council City Clerk for resolution waiving special event fees. Council of the whole to table?
Roll call to table.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
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 McIver,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Yes.
7R8B is a authorizing and amending resolution for the Office of Municipal Council City Clerk, adopting resolution. This is Section 2, adoption of the 2019 municipal budget. Municipal budget was amended by the Municipal Council at the last meeting, and it was advertised in accordance with law on September 21st with notice of a public hearing for today. This is the time and place for the public hearing. Please note that the only items that can be discussed at this public hearing are the amendments to the municipal budget for the year 2019. County and states, county and school issues are not applicable to this discussion. Please address questions to the chair, not to individual council members. Please look forward, speak into the microphone. We are recording these proceedings, and if you turn away, we may miss part of your statement. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak at this time?
Mr. McCutcheon.
Dion McCutcheon, Newark Matters, defending the aged, disabled, homeless, poor, and defenseless. Hopefully I'm in text, or context with regard to what I'm about to say. I completely, which is somewhat uncommon, I completely agree with Northwood Councilman Ramos with regard to the allowing of homeowners to have the opportunity to appeal. This is America, correct?
Mr. McCutcheon, you are here to speak on the
On the
amendment to the
budget.
municipal budget, nothing else.
Okay. I think that's 700 million, 155,000, if I'm correct. Again, I went to the Newark school system, so you have to bear with me here if I got that right.
Please stop the school system.
Hey, if that's what you need to do what you need to do, if you honestly feel that this budget is what you need, I mean, if you need more to do what you need to do to help the city of Newark, I'm all with that. I mean, how could you deny something like that if this is what is needed to make the city of Newark a better place to live? I do not disagree with those things, but what I do have problems with is when these budgets are approved and then you don't see the type of justification for the budget when it comes to decisions being made like this one that was just made that I thought was ridiculous, where this executive decision, that should be a public, but stay focused, right? I'm gonna put that in a letter. But yeah, I agree with this. I mean, as much money as you need to do what you need to do, as long as the money is being done, everything is being used properly. You know, as long as the funds that you're approving, everything is good. I don't have a problem with that. If you need more, hey, ask for more. I'm cool with that. But you will be getting something in writing to me with regards to Ramos's and the East Ward councilman. I like what he said as well. That would
Mr.
be,
McCutcheon, please stick
All right.
to the amendment.
get as much money as you need to make sure you use it properly to make the city run more effectively and more beautifully and do what you need to do for the budget.
Thank you, Mr.
city,
McCutcheon.
for the citizens of the city.
Are there any other speakers?
No one else appearing,
No
Mr.
other speaker. Motion to close the public hearing and adopt. Council of the whole?
Roll call.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Madam President, do you wish to do an executive session?
Yes.
Roll, Council of the whole? Hold on.
That was there this morning.
Mr. Falcone?
Yeah, they get.
That was a close hearing. Motion to adopt the 2019 municipal budget.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that again,
Motion,
Mr.
Council of
Clerk?
the whole, to adopt the 2019 municipal budget as amended.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Roll call.
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McCallum,
Yes.
McIver,
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
President, if I may.
Yes, you
Now
may.
Now that we have approved the budget, and I believe there is some money reserved for sports in the budget, $50,000, I would like to know what the procedure is to apply for those funds. If there is any procedure that needs to be, how people, they said know that there is a fund, and how people apply to get a contribution from the city to get part of the fund.
Darlene? Oh,
Madam President.
yes,
I just
Councilman
want to
Ramos.
note that in the past, what we've done is a resolution from this body listing the organizations and instructing the administration to, provide the support funding to the various Little Leagues. So that's the way we've done it in the past. This hasn't been done in a long time because it was wiped out of the
Right.
budget. So
Yes, I requested at some time that we prepare a list of the non-for-profits that are providing sports opportunities in the city, so that we have a comprehensive list of all the Little Leagues and all the entities that are providing sports for the kids in the city of Newark, so that we know how many we have and try to subdivide the $50,000 in the most comprehensive way possible.
Council members, Eric Pennington, Business Administrator. I'll have Pat Council come and address the council with respect to the procedure that'll be put in place to use those funds. Obviously, it has to be done in an equitable fashion. If that means an RFP, it'll be an RFP. If it's some other protocol, we'll have that discussed and presented to you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
thank you, Eric.
Mr. Clerk, no other business for the agenda. Roll call for executive session.
Yes.
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 That's you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going into a brief executive session. Unless you are involved in the discussion that will follow, I ask that you please step out of the chamber.
Where did the clerk go? Oh. Mr. Clerk, they're making fun of you.
Comes with the job. Madam President, we are back from executive session. We have a roll call to close the voting portion of this meeting.
Amador?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
James, absent. McCallum?
Yes.
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 Madam President, this puts us in the conference meeting. The item on the agenda for today for the conference meeting is a discussion with the Department of Engineering and the Division of Traffic and Signals regarding street paving. Mr. Scott, will you step to the microphone, please?
Good morning, Madam President, members of the Municipal Council. Philip Scott, Director of the Department of Engineering. So it's my understanding that there was a request for us to, I guess, provide information on the schedule for paving.
Director, before
Yes.
you go into your presentation, let me thank you on behalf of the council members. We finally have signs that indicate personal names, and when I drove in, thanks to your agreement to put the names up, everybody is very happy this morning.
You're very welcome. So, regretfully, I do not have a presentation this morning. I will just say basically because, back in July, we did a presentation of our plans for paving and approximate schedules. Since then, there was, I guess, an influx of money to do the lead service line replacement. The city, the Department of Water and Sewer Utilities has awarded 2 contracts for 10,000 lead service line replacements all over the city. We have been working very closely with them to coordinate their efforts along with our efforts. It would be irresponsible of us to pave streets knowing that they're going to come back and tear those streets up to replace the lead service lines. So what we are doing currently, we actually had a meeting just yesterday with the Water and Sewer Department along with PSC&G, who has committed to assign a full-time inspector to make sure that the work is being done and doesn't interfere with their services. We have another meeting scheduled for Thursday morning at 9:30 with the contractors that were awarded the project so that we can coordinate to make sure that the efforts that we are doing are coordinated with their work. We have plans to pave several streets. One of them, the priorities being Bergen Street. We have a plan for it, but we have to make sure that the lead service lines get done first. We believe that there are 13 lead service lines that we know of on Bergen Street. So we are right now scheduling with the contractor and the CDM Smith, the consultant to the Water and Sewer Department, to make sure that that work gets done prior to us going to pave. So right now, I don't have a hard schedule just because we are working with the Water and Sewer Department to make sure that all the lead service lines are in place first before we do the paving. And once they do get their work done, we are going to come right behind them to do the paving of the streets that we have already awarded.
Council President.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Director, for coming out today to answer some of our questions. One, I was the one about the Bergen Street. I've been asking for that for a long time now, since winter. Bergen Street, I would like to know the addresses that you have for the lead service lines, because most of Bergen Street, or the area that's the worst, they don't have any lead service lines there. There's a big senior building, a vacant, and across the street is new housing that they do not consist of lead service lines. So if I can see the addresses, and I'll also check my list of lead service lines in that area, because the part of Bergen Street that's tore up, that people are swerving when they hit the street, that area doesn't have any lead service lines. Secondly, I asked last week regarding Boyd Street. Boyd Street is brand-new development. They do not have any lead service lines. That street is tore up. It needs to be done. We approved the grant to have it paved, so that's what I want to know, when we're going to have that paved. When is that going to happen? What I'm afraid of is, I understand we're coordinating with the lead service line replacements, which I agree we should do that, but I also don't want to miss the deadline cutoff of when we can't pave anymore, and then people have to live through another winter of riding down Bergen Street or Boyd Street like that. So I really want us to try to move fast and try to figure out when we're going to pave and when that's going to happen. And I also want to know about the lead service lines on Bergen Street, because there's no old homes there in that area that I'm referring to that needs to be paved.
Yes, so in reference to Bergen Street is the longest stretch of paving that we're going to do. We're going to be paving from Avon Avenue all the way to South Orange Avenue, so that's almost a mile long. So yes, there are probably certain areas that are worse than others. I totally agree with you. We will provide you with that information. We've been working very closely with the consultant. We have it listed on a map, so we can provide that to you immediately after this meeting.
Got it, thank you. And then 2 more questions. Do we have curb your dog signs? Is that coming out of your department? Because I asked multiple times, too, about the curb your dog signs. We finally got the correct answer. First, we were told that, and this wasn't from anybody, from Kim or you, someone in your department said that you guys didn't have curb your dog signs. You don't do those anymore, but then I understand there's a funding issue with curb your dog signs. So I want to know what is the proper answer about the curb your dog signs, because we have a large request for them throughout the city, and right now we're not putting them up, and people are requesting them, which they should, because we have a big problem with people not curbing their dogs. So do we have them or not? Like, what's the status with that?
We do not have curb your dog signs. The Division of Traffic and Signals makes signs that are related to traffic and transportation. We do not, currently, we do not manufacture the curb your dog signs. It was my understanding in the past that the health department used to give those out, but I cannot confirm that one way or the other.
So, Mr. B.A., I want to do this, Chair, Council President. Could we find out who does curb your dog signs? Because between the health department, traffic and signals, there seems to be confusion on who should be doing them, who should be paying for them, and I have a long list waiting for curb your dog signs. People should be entitled to get those signs in their community. So if we can find out who does it, that would be really helpful. And lastly, just one more question, Council President. In regards to block watch signs, were you guys doing those or no? No?
No.
Okay, so let me explain, because you don't know what block watch signs are? Yeah.
I do not know what
Okay.
watch signs are.
Okay, so a long time ago, we used to put up block watch signs, and so we're rolling out in the Central Ward a big campaign right now for residents to have their own block watch on different blocks, and so they're starting that back up. And the Department of Public Safety has been doing a lot of training and getting people ready for the block watch committee. And so with that, the people are asking now, hey, we got our team, we rolling. Is it possible if we can bring back the signs we used to have in whatever year that was? It might have been maybe the 70s, the 80s. I'm not sure. It was before 86, so that's for me. So I agree we should have those signs back, but I just want to be clear on which department does that, because last night I was told that it might be the police department that has those signs. So I just want to make sure it's not your department, so I won't send you the request and just send it directly to the Department of Public Safety.
Yes, so just so you know, we have the ability to make those types of signs as well as curb your dog signs, but historically we've been making transportation and traffic related signs. The police department also makes signs as well. They have a sign maker and they make signs, so maybe that could have been where those signs come from.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Madam
Director.
President,
I have a question.
if your reason for not paving any streets at all during the year is related to the fact that we have an exceptional number of lead lines to be worked on and removed, and I can understand that. But the fact is that there hasn't been any official statement saying that, for example, in the East Ward, there's problems with lead in some areas. We haven't identified anything, and what I asked for is for folks to call in and do a test. like I'm doing myself. Based on that, why was paving prevented to be done in the East Ward? For example, Horatio Street doesn't have any lead lines, and there's no paving being done in there. Parker Street, the same thing. Actually, Parker Street is even double named. If you look on the records, you have a portion of Parker Street that came back again the following, on the following document that we received. So Parkhurst is listed twice. It's something that I send a letter to your department to look at before anything is done there. But my point is this: since there has not been any official statement indicating that there are lead lines in the East Ward, why was paving stopped in the East Ward?
I'm not clear, Eric Pennington, Business Administrator, I'm not really clear where this particular colloquy is coming from or what it's directed to, because the information is false, Councilman. There are 18,000 lead service lines in the city of Newark, 14,000 of which are served by the Pequannock water system, 4,000 of which are served by the Wanacue system, the vast majority of which are in the East Ward. So I don't know what kind of official statement you're looking for. It's incorrect, and it's misleading, and I'm not really sure where it is directed. The lead service line replacement program is for the entire city. We intend to replace every single lead service line in the city. The mayor, the governor, and the county executive have come together in an unprecedented effort to get $120 million for infrastructure funding to replace lead service lines, which has been done nowhere else in the country. Your mayor and the administration and this council have worked together to make sure that the citizens of the city of Newark have the best possible outcome with respect to the replacement of lead service lines and the eradication, the full and complete eradication of lead in the water.
Mr. BA, I go back again to the same point that I made in the beginning. I'm totally in favor of supporting the $120 million that we're getting to do the repairs that are necessary to be done. But every time we enter into a conversation regarding lead lines, the East Ward is ignored. And I know for a fact. It's not true. No. What you have to do is one simple case. Last Tuesday, two individuals from the administration were in public indicating that the water in the East Ward was fine. Everybody should drink it. They should. That's true. Everybody in the East Ward. Now, the BA... should be assured of that, Councilman.
Director, bring your voice down.
Kareem Nadeem, Acting Director of the Department of Water.
just said that there's 2,000 cases related to problems in the East Ward. Now you're saying everybody should drink it.
Excuse me.
Come on.
Director. Yes. The East Ward water.
Cannot.
Okay. No, I don't want to disrespect the councilman, but I want to give him a little bit of clarity.
We want to hear the truth.
Yes.
Right.
Truth is, the East Ward is served by the Wanacue system. The Wanacue system through the courts, through the city, through the DEP, through the EPA, the Wanacue system is feeding with orthophosphate. Orthophosphate is fed from the Wanacue system to Elizabeth, to Bayonne, to Harrison, to Kearney, to Jersey City, off of the Wanacue system. It's safe. The Wanacue system is not in question. We went to court, the judge ruled on the Wanacue system maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. However, when we rolled out the lead service replacement program in April of 2018, it was for the whole city. 10 phases over 8 years to replace all the lead services in the whole city. The only thing that's changed now is we've got $120 million and we've expedited the time frame from 24 to 30 months. Phase 1 started in March of 2019, and we were working in the East Ward. Today, we're working in the East Ward. Not because there's something wrong with the water, because we're replacing lead services throughout the entire city. It's not that there's a water problem. We're replacing all the lead services in our entire city. We didn't want to exclude one area.
So we've worked in the East Ward since we've went in construction on March the 13th. And we're in the East Ward now. We're in the South Ward. We're in the West Ward. We're in the North Ward. We're in the Central Ward.
Can you give me the addresses where?
We're on Barber Street. If you go on Barber Street right now, you'll see E.G. Roman on the whole Barber Street, placing lead services.
That's in the East Ward?
That's in the East Ward, Barber Street.
East Ward.
East Ward. Worked on Elm Street.
That's in the East Ward.
Director,
East Ward.
may I make a recommendation that you make an appointment with Councilman Amador and take a tour of the area that you and he have in dispute?
Madam President, could I offer?
I don't think he had an area in dispute with me. I think it was the paving. I just was giving him a little clarity.
Could I offer
We'll change the list, but I'm available to do whatever he needs to do.
Madam
Why
President,
don't you get together?
could I
and
offer a
the both of you-
suggestion, Madam
Yes,
President, respectfully to the BA and to the Director of Water? Would it be possible for you guys to give us like a weekly update in terms of what areas are going to be targeted in our ward? So, you know, for us, it's a notification issue. Sometimes we get calls from residents asking because they see the markings on the sidewalk. So it'd be good for us to know so that we can answer, you know, questions that they may have. And I don't know how much of a lift that is, but I don't think it would be that difficult.
It's a good idea. We can forward you the 2-week look-ahead schedule. They're subject to change.
And they marked my sidewalk again.
They got to mark the whole area. Somebody may be wrong.
Like the fourth time, so.
No, most of the lead service was replaced Monday through Saturday.
Okay.
All right. But, okay.
Could I go
Thank
back
you.
to the paving?
Yes,
issue?
Councilman. I'm-
Yeah, sorry. To Director Scott. So the streets that were slated to be paved in the fall, right? So what I'm hearing is that the reason you're delaying paving those streets is because a number of those streets were potentially going to have lead service work being done that could impact the city paving the street and then having to pave it again once that work is done. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So what happens to the streets that were identified in those grant applications that now will be potentially paved utilizing the lead service line work? Will you be able to replace those streets that were identified in the various grant applications for other streets that would not be affected by lead service line work?
No, what's going to happen is we're still going to pave those streets under that grant. We're just going to do it after the lead services have been replaced. Now, the money that the water and sewer has for the replacement, we're going to see if we can use that to do other streets. We're working together hand in hand in this whole process to make sure that we're making the best use of these funds.
So the grant will pave for those areas that the lead service line work will be conducted in?
Yes, as long as that lead service line work is done prior to us doing the paving, we will still pave it and pay for it under that grant. Once we identify these streets through the grant with the Department of Transportation, we have to stick to those streets.
Oh, that's the
Were bids issued out for this contract work for the fall, or they were never issued?
So there were bids issued out for one contract we're working on right now. There was another bid that we were trying to issue that we literally just got approval from the Department of Transportation. I believe it was Friday, excuse me. So, you know, we're constantly pushing on them to move these things along, but, you know, the state has a huge municipal aid program that's, you know, available to every municipality in the street, so they have to review our project the way that they have to review every other project.
Let me ask, too, that I'm a member at a joint meeting, and just last week we approved a paving contract that was done through a cooperative. Are you aware of any contracts that you have at your disposal that you may utilize kind of like an emergency? Because I know that the bidding process sometimes is lengthy. We've had problems in the past with bids not coming back complete, and that delays your ability to pave streets. Have you considered the possibility of using vendors that are available to the city through a cooperative as an option?
Yeah, so I'm not aware of any paving co-op, but what we are doing is we're currently working with the purchasing department to come up with an on-call paving so that we can react much quicker than what we currently do. Right now, it's a process where we have to, we basically have been solely reliant on the grant. So we do a grant application, then we prepare the plans and specifications, then we go out to bid, then we have to award it. So that's a very lengthy process. So what we're trying to put in place right now is an on-call paving contract so that when we have a request, and as long as we have funds, we can pick up the phone and call the contractor, and we can mobilize within a few weeks as opposed to several months or even years.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yes, Councilman, I'm sorry, I went out of order. Councilman McCallum and followed by Councilman Osborne. I apologize.
How you doing, Director? Quick question. As per our conversation a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks ago, about Sunset Avenue getting paved, they were on there. I believe they did around 5 lead lines, Director Adim. I'd like to know the status on when we could get the street paved. I added it to the grant list, but since they're, paving the streets that they do the lead lines, I would like to see if we can move that up. The street is terrible, Sunset and Alexander.
Yes, so
And
if
there's any
Sunset,
way that we can expedite that with the lead lines being replaced, I'd appreciate it.
yes, absolutely. So what we're doing is we're taking a comprehensive look. So if we're on the street where we're doing, the majority of the street lead services, instead of doing infrared patch replacement, we're going to do the whole street. It just makes sense, because it would probably cost us more money and more time to do infrared on several cuts versus to come in and pave the whole street. So, like I said, we're working with the water department. We're meeting and talking every single day so that we can really plan this out to make sure that we, do the proper restoration for these streets.
If I can get some kind of small time frame on when that could possibly happen, so I can let the residents know, because it's to the point of being dangerous. And Alexander Street School on the Sunset side is terrible. And it's right near a speed hump, and it's just cracks and dips in the, I would hope that we can do something to repair it.
Absolutely.
As well as Alexander. They're to the point of being dangerous at this point.
Councilman Osborne.
Good morning, Mr. Director. Earlier you mentioned that Public Service has an individual that monitors their construction. Who monitoring it for the city with the pipe, with the lead service lines? Because this morning, for instance, it's involving traffic. An individual with the contractor that's doing the work called me in regards to, I guess they were trying to shut down the street at 7 o'clock this morning without notification, and North Police didn't allow it. So who do I direct them conversations to? Do they have to notify the public the day before if they plan on doing work?
Yeah, I don't know the exact process in terms of how they're going to do the lead service line. I would defer that to Director Adim. But in terms of traffic control, we're supposed to have Newark Police out doing traffic control. And in terms of inspection, on behalf of the city, in terms of the work for the lead service lines, CDM Smith, the city's consultant, has inspectors that are on site doing these inspections.
Thank you. Director, I do have a couple of questions. A couple of weeks ago, I spoke to you about curb your dog signs.
Yes.
And you said you thought they might be in the health department. Are they being?
I still haven't gotten an answer about that. But what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can, put a little money in the budget for curb your dog signs, and we'll be able to.
How soon will that be? Kim? I'm sorry, Ms. Singleton?
Good morning. Kimberly Singleton, Manager of Traffic and Signals. For the curb your dog signs, what we'll do is we'll have to assess the area because there's so many signs.
You have to do what?
It's going to be so many signs within a block range. You're going to need so many, maybe 2 signs per block. So that citywide may be somewhere about 25,000 signs. So to be able to do that, we will have to probably do that and plan for it and do it in sections. If we're going to do these curb your dog signs, and I have to price the material to actually complete the project, because that is a project. So it would probably task us to do it internally, to go out and get the supplies and stuff. It may take us a year. We only have 2 sign makers.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
And
I suggest that you find a faster way.
Yeah.
Really.
Because we will have to either order them and get them fabricated.
See, the
and
neighbors,
install it.
I mean, the residents don't get mad at you because they don't see you.
Right.
But they see us. And they want to know where their curb their dog sign is.
Yeah.
But Madam President?
Yes.
In the past.
No, we
The
can't-
ordinance,
can't
the
do this in a
ordinance
year.
on some of the signs that are still left.
Right.
Where are they?
There's
It's
a
few
few
here and
streets.
there, yeah.
There is, on the bottom of the sign, there is the ordinance on the
Yes.
bottom of that sign. Who enforces that ordinance is basically, at the time, was the police department.
And the health department.
Right. But it was police or health. So the ordinance is underneath the sign. I'll make sure you get a copy of it.
Yeah, the ordinance underneath the sign, so the health inspectors enforce that if they catch, to curb your dog. So I'm aware of the sign. I've seen them in a lot of places.
So have I in the past. Mr. Clerk, through your office, would you have one of your staff members to pull that particular ordinance and share it with all of the council members, but certainly Council McIver and myself? And 1 year is too long. Secondly, the other day, I was visiting a church in the Central Ward, and two seniors came up and asked, this is for the director. I'm Miss Singleton, this is for the director. Came up and spoke to me, and they asked, when were we going to get rid of the bike lanes on? It never made any sense in the beginning to have bike lanes in front of a senior building.
Where was that?
That was the state.
Oh, it doesn't matter who did it. They had the bike, it was a project of one of the previous mayors. And I have repeatedly questioned the project. The seniors want it gone, so hopefully some of them can find a place to park on that street. Nothing has been done for, 8 years? 8 years? Something like that. And I was reminded that my taxes pay your salary, so I pass that on to you. Their taxes pay your salary. I escaped, trust me, the wrath of the seniors at the building.
Understood. So, we haven't installed any new bike lanes as part of this administration since I've been here in 2014.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. We have not installed any new bike lanes.
I'm not talking about old bike lanes. I'm
So
talking about the ones that are in existence.
So the bike lanes that are in existence were put in using a grant, either from the Department of Transportation or possibly from the Federal Highway. If we were to take those bike lanes out, we could be subject to having to repay that grant. So that's the reason, or part of the reason as to why we have not looked at eliminating the bike lanes, to put parking back. These bike lanes were installed, partly as, I guess, a transportation project to hopefully to help alleviate, some of the need for cars on the road. It was not intended to remove parking. It's not just in front of a senior building. These bike lanes span for the course of probably several miles. So, unfortunately, it's not something that we have the funds to take them out or to repay the grant.
Madam President, if I may.
Yes, Councilman
there's the one that
Gonzalez.
is probably the one with less sense is the one on Prospect Avenue that has.
I agree.
It's a bike lane for 4 blocks.
That's right.
I believe that's the worst that we have in the city, and all the neighbors are complaining because they took out the parking next to the curve. Now they have to park almost in the middle of the street. So it's if you can do something,
After
I
4 blocks,
urge
you
you
gotta get on the
to do
sidewalk.
something on that one before you do anyone.
Not only, it's dangerous.
Two or more.
It's dangerous. I go past that one.
No,
Get
you're
my
right in the,
hair done.
let's say on that, let's say the once in a lifetime that some people ride the bicycle on that, and you open the door to your car,
Yes.
that person is gone.
So it was poorly designed
Got it on my corner, too.
and unnecessary.
It's crazy.
Everybody wasn't in favor, of doing it, but it was a pet project.
Madam President, the thing with that is that they say they have meetings. Nobody goes to the meetings, and then people complain. They say Jack Nara, God have him in a nice place, he came here, and many times he said to us, we had meetings on this date, and that date, and nobody showed up to the meetings. So then they complain.
Any other
Madam President?
recommendations, Councilman?
In terms, going back to the signs, other communities around the country for these kinds of, with the curve your dog signs, usually they get it out of, they use CDBG grants for that purpose. And it's been done, and it can be used, so there's no excuse that the CDBG grants, Mr. BA, can be utilized to fund the signs. Just put that as a...
Maybe we can use the cameras that we have all over the city to find, they say that the dogs are pooping or whatever, and then issue a ticket.
I mean, I just want to say, at this point, we have people who literally, the easiest part is to do what's been requested of the people who pay taxes. So at the end of the day, we have a running list right now that we could just get started with that people have requested of wanting the Curb Your Dog sign. So before we go into this whole study thing and we do all of this, and I understand where Ms. Singleton's coming from, but at the end of the day, we have just a request of people who send us videos and pictures of people who are doing this, who can use a sign. So, I mean, some of the neighbors have said that they have approached their neighbors and said, look, you have to curb your dog, such and such, and the people are like, oh, I don't see a sign, I ain't doing that, whatever. You don't really need a sign to, a sign doesn't always enforce laws, but at the same time, it would be helpful if we have that, because maybe if they see a sign come up, they understand that they cannot do that. And so it's at least a step towards the right direction to do it. And look, I don't know where it's coming from, who's paying for it. All I know is people are requesting that pay taxes, and we should be able to get them a sign. It's a sign. Like, it can't be that hard.
Yes, please send us the locations, and we'll do our best to get them up as quickly as possible.
Any other Director, could you wait for 1 minute after the meeting?
Absolutely.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Clerk.
Madam President, that puts us in the public speaking portion of this meeting. This is a 30-minute period in which speakers will be given 3 minutes to speak. When you step to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. You will see a small timing device on the podium in front of you, which will begin counting down your time when you start speaking. When you reach the 2-minute mark, the yellow light will illuminate, indicating that you have 1 minute remaining for summation. And when you reach the 3rd minute, the red light will illuminate, and there will be an audible sound indicating that your time has expired. Please look forward, speak into the microphone. We are recording these proceedings, and if you turn away, we may miss part of your statement. Please address questions to the chair and not to individual council members. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak at this time?
Yes. Deon McCutcheon, Newark Matters, defending the aged, disabled, homeless, poor, and defenseless. I came here to talk about something that I thought was important. Yet, I have to divert my attention to something that I find very frivolous and silly. Who makes the signs to curb your dog? Oh, the police department does it. We might do it. The other department, why don't you all do it? The more, the merrier. Why don't you all do it? What is the big deal? Signs? Oh my God. And then you're going to be arguing, well, the police department made more signs than we did. Oh God. Did they? What? Are you guys for real? Signs? Furthermore, I drive down Bergen Street all the time. The whole darn thing from one end to the other needs to be redone. Now, she mentioned very clearly that this area does not have any lead line issues. So what is the problem? She said very clearly, I've done my research and there are no, and then her question was, when is it going to get done? You come back with, well, I don't know his name, but you come back with, her question was very specific. When will they be done? The answer should have been a date, a time, something that has to do with time, not the length of the road. Didn't understand that one. I have so many notes, I don't even know where to continue. Something else that was super ridiculous. I don't care who makes the signs. Okay, all of you should make the signs. Oh, by the way, oh, geez. Okay, I'm going to get to something that I thought was actually very important. North Ward Councilman made the point that the residents in a particular area would have the opportunity to appeal. This is America. I heard somebody say something about due process. And I'm not a lawyer, far from. But if these residents are paying their taxes, I think he said $16,000, and all of a sudden some assessment is made and their taxes go up to some astronomical amount. You don't think that they deserve, let's go to executive session. No, that needs to be discussed in the public session. I couldn't believe you guys went to executive. I said, is this the Republican Party? Is this the Senate of the United States? Everything is private? Let's go to executive session. Okay, you've been working with the Russians. Let's do it in executive session so that the public doesn't know what's going on. This is the antithesis of transparency. That should have been something that the public needed to be heard, especially the people who own these houses. Executive session? Absurd. Absurd. Dear McCutcheon, Newark matters. Defending the aged, the disabled, the poor.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk?
Madam President, that concludes this meeting. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you next week at the pre.
Let me thank the officers of the day.